We stay winning. Ladies and gentlemen, not only did Elden Ring win Game of the Year, as it rightfully deserved, but we got the absolutely massive confirmation during the Game Awards that Armored Core 6 has been in development and is coming to us in 2023 on the PS4, PS5, entire Xbox family of systems, and PC via Steam. The full title is Armored Core 6: Fires of Rubicon. As a massive fan of Armored Core, I'm very excited. Hello everyone, my name is Tom, otherwise known as Titanium Legman. If you're a fan of Armored Core, or are curious about it and want to know the news, please subscribe. Thank you. After a whopping 9-year absence, 10 by the time the game launches, Armored Core is coming back. For those who don't know, Armored Core was FromSoft's, the devs of the Soul series, Elden Ring, Bloodborne, etc., primary IP before the success of that series. Originating on the PS1, there have been 23 games in the series up to this point, with the last release being Armored Core 5 Verdict Day on the PS3. So this has been a long time coming. As far as my experience with the series goes, I've beaten Armored Core Nexus on the PS2, my first game in the series. I've also played chunks of 1, 3, Silent Line, and Last Raven, and I played the first third-ish of Verdict Day. However, I've read about all the games, and so have at least some knowledge about them all. Thus far, all we've seen is a very impressive cinematic trailer, but there's still some stuff to unpack from that. And don't worry, if you've never played an Armored Core game, it's fine. At most, there's typically only connections between 2 generations of the game max, so from like Armored Core 1 to 2 or 4 to 5, for example. From what little we know thus far, it doesn't seem like there's going to be any connection to the previous Armored Core games in true series tradition. For the first time in the series history as far as I'm aware, we're leaving Earth for the ruined planet of Rubicon 3. Do note, though, that the current description of the game makes it unclear if the name of the planet is Rubicon 3, or the substance that's found on it that we're about to discuss is called Rubicon 3. For the sake of clarity, I'm going to assume that this is the planet until otherwise stated. Rubicon 3 is known for a powerful substance unique to the planet, which was expected to, quote, dramatically advance humanity's technological and communications capabilities, unquote. However, somehow, this substance instead triggered a global catastrophe so insanely potent that it engulfed the planet and surrounding stars in flames and storms. That is a direct quote. This was apparently then dubbed a burning star system. So that's a problem. It's presumably what we see happening at the start of the cinematic trailer. Half a century later, the system has stopped burning, I would assume, and humanity has returned to try and harvest the doomsday substance once more because apparently nobody ever learns. You will play as a mercenary, taking jobs for corporations, as is always the case in Armored Core games, as well as other groups as the struggle over Rubicon 3 evolves. This is where your standard gameplay should come in. Unless we've seen some massive revisions due to From's new experience with the Soul series and the surely increased budget they now have for all of their projects, you can expect a third-person shooter experience where speed and maneuverability are a big component over cover mechanics. You'll pilot a core, of course, which you will design from the ground up. Every single part you can acquire has different stats, such as armor values, heat resistance, weight, jamming resistance, etc., etc., etc. You can choose humanoid legs, reverse joint legs, tank treads, hover tech, quad legs, different boosters, different CPUs, head, arms, and of course, a massive arsenal of different weapons, from simple machine guns all the way up to armor-mounted laser cannons and wrist-mounted pile bunkers. It's a great time. If you're a long-time fan of the Souls games, you might also notice some familiar faces as well. I won't spoil it here, but it'll be good, I promise. There's going to be a lot of pointing at the screen like Leonardo DiCaprio in that one gif. As far as the cinematic itself is concerned, there's a couple things to note. The world of Rubicon looks just as battle-scarred and post-apocalyptic as I'd expect from an Armored Core game, and that's before the titular fires start melt-scouring the surface clean. We're then treated to a shot that I thought at first was the surface of the planet, but no, on second look, that's space. That's that burning star system I mentioned earlier, and it's freaking awesome looking. We also see red glowing lights in the flames that could be stars, but also look suspiciously like the glow of a mono-eyed core, so that's interesting. I don't know how big of a core would have to be to shine like a star, but planet-sized cores, it's possible. There's honestly not too much to pull from this, and then we're told to feed the flames and let the last cinders burn, which basically just sounds like recycled Dark Souls dialogue, so I'm not sure what that's about. I don't know why we would want to feed the flames, but I mean, we'll see. Immediately after this, we have a shot of a basic-looking core with a big old scrap backpack on it, which is fun. It appears to be picking more scrap out of the wreckage of Rubicon 3 post-fires, while watching a battle in the distance, which we then zoom in on. Makes me wonder if there's going to be some open-world gathering a la Elden Ring, but honestly, I'd be very surprised if that wound up being the case. Next, we get our first shot of core combat. A quad-leg core shows off a fancy energy shield, which is, if not new to the series, at least new to me, before cutting down a line of basic mechs with some sort of melee weapon. It then gets bodied by what may be the mascot mech for the game, sporting an absolutely vicious-looking pile bunker that it uses to finish the quad leg in short order. What follows is a quick cut of various combat scenarios, including a massive core bursting through a wall, a very top-heavy, almost powered armor-looking core being lowered on wires, a group of helicopters dropping flares, an active battlefield with turrets and cores fighting an off-screen enemy, and a whole line of cores being ready to deploy. Finally, we cut back to our mascot core, withdrawing its pile bunker from the downed quad leg. It readies a new weapon from its back, a motion which reminds me of weapon swapping from Armored Core 5 Verdict Day, and rockets off to rejoin the fight. As it does, a visor rotates into place over its eye cameras, which makes me wonder if we're going to be seeing different camera modes again from Verdict Day return. Then, title drop, and trailer. Good stuff. Even without any gameplay, I'm hyped as all get out after this. Now, beyond just the simple trailer, we do also have a Steam store listing that we can take some notes from, and something that's interesting from that is that it's stated, while Hidetaka Miyazaki of the Souls series, Bloodborne, Elden Ring, etc., was the original director of Armored Core 6, that role has now been shifted to Masaru Yamamura. Yamamura is another FromSoft vet, having worked on the Souls games and Bloodborne, but is probably most notable as the lead designer on Sekiro. Now, I know, I'm well documented on this channel as heavily disliking Sekiro, but I want to make it clear why that is before we discuss it in terms of that Armored Core. I just don't like the gameplay style of Sekiro. The mechanics don't feel good to me, and the limited options are frustrating as a result. I can't stand the bosses and how you interact with them as a player, largely because of the posture system, which just bores me to tears. This does not mean that I think Sekiro is a bad game. I might joke around and say it is, but it's not. It's beautifully executed with a great setting, story, aesthetic, music, characters, etc. I honestly even really enjoy the combat gameplay when fighting regular enemies. It's just the bosses that I can't stand, and I mean, unfortunately, the core, no pun intended, of any Souls game is the boss fights, so it's just overall not for me. That said, I'm excited to see what Mr. Yamamura brings to the table, since he clearly has experience under his belt and knows how to make a good game. Seeing as how rumors and leaks state that the game has been in active dev since 2017, I assume that this switch happened to facilitate the development of Elden Ring. Miyazaki needed to focus on that, bring in the big guy behind Sekiro. Makes sense. The biggest question I've seen bandied about since the announcement, though, was if there would be multiplayer in the game. We haven't heard anything about it yet. Multiplayer has been present in the series for many years, but really came to the fore with Armored Core 5 and its sequel, Verdict Day. A huge chunk of those games' content was multiplayer focused, with sprawling player conflicts and wars centered around holding territory and fighting enemy squads. Thanks to the growth of multiplayer functionality in modern gaming, and the game coming to PC via Steam, it could be a prime chance to do such an ambitious multiplayer effort once again. I'd certainly love to see some good multiplayer mecha action again, as without Chrome Hounds and Armored Core 5, it's been a bit of a void in the genre, and of course, We do know that FromSoft loves its multiplayer. Multiplayer is a big thing in Elden Ring. We just had the Coliseum update that added big PvP stuff, so I have my fingers crossed. And that, my friends, is all we know at the moment about Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon. How are we feeling about it? As I said, I'm incredibly excited to see this awesome series returning after so long, especially given the pedigree that FromSoft has built up in the last decade. I fully intend to cover the news up to release, so as long as there's demand for it, let me know. Also, if you're a Souls fan who's never played an Armored Core but are interested in getting into the series now, I'd love to hear about it. I'll be happy to chat and answer any questions I can in the comments. Again, my name is Tom, otherwise known as Titanium Legman. Until we get more news, I hope you all have a good night. Stay safe and healthy out there. And remember, be good to each other. Bye now.